I just realized maybe my audio wasn't working. Was it just not working? Hello, hello, hello? Oh, it was, but what is check check check? No? I don't think it was on. Check check check. Was it on? I didn't see my light. Wow. I hope something was going on. Hmm. I guess I'll check after the fact. Huh, that'd be so sad. Yeah, I didn't see the light on my on my what is this thing called? My interface. Um Weird. Maybe it's just with all this kind of switching and setting up my new phone and stuff like that. Cuz I one cool little detail of these newer Pixels is that you can you can just plug in a display that has USB-C and the phone it'll mirror the phone, so you can treat it like a desktop in a way. You can add Bluetooth stuff like my keyboard and mouse. I've done that before, but you can just have more surface area and you don't have to buy any special converters or whatever. Of course, you would if there was HDMI. Oh, oh, nice. Okay, well, anyway, that was good. I'm excited to have that printed this week. We'll see how it turns out. Because I don't think I've ever used tarot cards. I've never had asked for them to be printed. I'm excited to see how that works out. The main thing I wanted to do with ADRA HQ is continue trying to solve a problem that is not a serious problem. At least I don't view it that way. It's a problem in that people can have a series of bad turns, but I don't think it's super common. Actually, it probably does happen regularly, but the game goes by so fast. I don't think it's a huge deal. At the same time, I think I still want to see if it's a problem that can be solved. So what is the problem? The problem is that there can be a number of turns, sometimes one, sometimes more, where you just don't have the icons you need to make progress on any of the cards out there. This is especially toward the end of the game when there might only be one or two piles or one or two cards out there left, like completely, like everything else is gone. And it might be it might be a type of card where that's just not your strength. You don't have tents in most of the. It might be that all of the tents in your deck are gone anyway, so you're just not going to get anything useful. So you just draw and pass the turn, because there's no need to rotate HQ because there's only one card left. So in those cases, what are some ways for somebody to have some ability, an ability to interact or an ability to help without being able to play the correct icon? That's the puzzle. That's the thing that I'd like to solve. Where did I put? Right here. Can play a card? Take up to 2 of these actions in any combination. Play a card and refocus. Okay, so what is... Yeah, what's possible here? Let me check. So one idea that I haven't tried yet, I kind of dismissed without without trying it, was something related to HQ. Is that the actual HQ card? It might be. So one thing I have not tried is another variation of the HQ card itself. And the way that I'm picturing this is you're playing through the game, you're getting rid of the cards, going around the circle, and then one shows up, and it's another version of the HQ card. And it would look kind of like... Excuse me. It would look kind of like this. Actually, let me just move this down closer. So I'm imagining this goes kind of like that. Okay, so those kind of disappear into the background, and now here is... Ooh, that is not clear enough for sure, but let me massage it a little bit. Okay, so what this is doing is it's basically illustrating something that ADRA HQ is kind of distracted by, or they're kind of busy in a specific way, or they're dealing with an issue, and it affects the game in an important way. So what would happen is this card would show up, and then it would actually sit on the HQ card. Yeah, so it would cover it, but what I'm kind of thinking is that it would also be able to rotate with it, and it would be in effect as long as as long as the requirement is not met. Yeah, I don't love it. I kind of just want to go back to what we were thinking before, which is just like bomb a card, but you have to discard a bunch of cards to do it. I think these event cards are good though, but I think for the most part, the group is just going to deal with them. They're not going to let them sit out there for very long. Yeah. So I guess this might come down to playtesting, honestly. Because what's the reason? Yeah, I think there's probably no real reason to do this. This is not solving the problem that I was hoping it would solve. Instead, what it does is it just adds some variety to the gameplay during the game. And that's nice. Like there's definitely nothing against it. It's also slightly it could be more than slightly thematic, but it feels at least slightly thematic that oh, there's a shortage of seeds right now. So unfortunately, you just can't play any seeds. Right? That's the issue. And it'll just be sitting there on the field, basically, in that like on the stack, as long as people leave it there. What I saw when I did try this version during playtesting, the players just wanted to deal with them right away, and there's good reason for that. It's because it's annoying to not be able to play seeds. So, so it does not solve the problem of when you have when you cannot play a card, you just draw a card. Well, what if you can't play again? You just keep skipping your turn and drawing cards. Kind of makes me want to go back to draw a card. You know what? The way that we were running the game, I almost think going back to just saying you can do 2 of these things in any combination would work fine, because what I started doing was like I was basically leading out and saying this is 1, okay, now this is 2, next turn, like pass the turn, you can only do 2 things. I kind of had to remind them, so it might be better it might be better to bring it back, because if you get to draw 2 cards, I'm gonna make another player aid and see if it feels simpler. So these would be gone, and just try the 2 of these in any combination. This would be draw a card, and then I mean, yeah, I just don't know. Let me take this off at least. So that means this is gone. Like, that looks pretty clean, right? You don't have to do this can I play a card thing. Yeah, I'm not sure this really solves any problems. Because I think, I don't know, it still wasn't perfect. It didn't seem really intuitive for the kids. Because they kept wanting to like refocus. Like one example would be play a card, refocus, play another card. They wanted playing a card to be the main thing. And so refocusing was just a thing you got to do in order to do the main thing a second time. That's how I read that. So that's not great. And I think it's pretty simple to say, play a card, refocus HQ, or draw a card. You can do two of those things in any combination. You draw two cards, draw a card, play a card, draw a card. You know what? I'm pretty sure I left my prototype at school. So I wonder what the best way to get back to to just double check and see if it's there. Because I forget which room. I've been subbing for people who like travel a lot, like from room to room, and I think I kind of know where it is, but I also don't even remember who I subbed for. So far so good with the stream. Seems very solid. Yeah. I kind of want to say something like, like always start your turn with 4 cards, 4 or more cards. Because I think that's fairly clear. Something that can be easily understood, hopefully. Because what I don't really want is just feeling like you need to use your whole turn to draw cards. Like, that's not fun. The other thing is it feels rewarding to be able to play 2 cards on your turn. And so to make it easier to play 2 cards on your turn. So for example, if you started your turn, you could always choose to refocus. First of all, that's, I think, slightly awkward to teach. Remember, you could refocus. Remember, don't forget. You could have refocused there. So, I like the ease of teaching when you say, can't play a card, draw a card and pass. And then, if you can play a card, take up to 2 of these actions in any combination. Yeah, today is going to be tough. I'm going to be pretty tired during these meetings. I really just need to get um, yeah, I just need more playtesting. I think that's I think that's the main thing. See what the kids can handle. The plan for the meeting tomorrow is for us to play through with the graphic designer. Um, yeah, so he can get a start on kind of understanding the UI part of it or the UX part of it. Hmm. The two of these things in any combination. It does sound weird to say any combination. Yeah, hey Mike. Definitely an early day. It was earlier than it should have been. I think I slept around 11, woke up around 4, 4:15 or something. It was just kind of up, and then needed to stream early because I have meetings starting at 8 with students. So I have like an hour and a half. Hopefully I get to take even a brief nap before the meetings start because I can tell I'm going to be struggling. And then the day is just like packed solid with meetings. I think I have probably, well, it's 2 meetings an hour from I think it's 8 to noon, so it's 4, so it's 8 students, and then from 12:30 to 3:30 plus another 6, so 14 students probably. That's gonna be kind of nuts. I have game night to look forward to. I have a nap and game night to look forward to. I mean, I love doing, I love meeting up with these students too, but when I'm tired, it is definitely a challenge. Mike, I'm still kind of stuck on this problem of like, what if somebody can't play a card on their turn, and then they can't play a card on their next turn, and then on their next turn, which still happens. Just introducing these event cards didn't solve the problem. Because it's not like the players are going to really, they're not going to hold these, they're not going to keep these event cards out for like a time of need. They're not going to do that because these are annoying. These event cards are annoying. So they're going to deal with them right away. So they're just going to get rid of cards. They can get rid of cards that they feel like are probably not relevant anymore. They can do that, but they wouldn't know for sure. So they are still going to just be burning cards without knowing which cards are best to get rid of. But when a card, toward the end of the game, when a card has symbols, they might not have any of that symbol left. Then they're just drawing until the end of the round or the end of the game, and then like that's not cool. Because I guess the other thing that I never really invested in trying was having a stack of HQ cards. I think partly because I think spinning a stack around does not sound very cool. I also don't love the idea. I'm so tied to how simple and how clean this is going to look on the table, or just how simple the setup is, that I really don't love the idea of having a stack of cards off to the side that you would need for the game. I mean, obviously there are going to be leftover cards, but I don't love the idea of like get rid of an HQ card in the middle and flip another one into the middle. So I think a stack is not a great idea of HQ card. A stack of cards in the middle of the table is not a great idea. Especially, I mean, cards that you're going to be spinning around. So that's not cool. And then cards off to the side I don't think is great. So that's why it was, I think, worth thinking through having cards just integrated into the, like having these event cards show up just in the various piles. I think that's good. But there's still this problem of, I mean, the event cards are good, and it turns out that they should be in there no matter whether they solve this problem or not. But I really want to find a way to solve this problem. I also, has it been suggested to redistribute resources? Take a card that's already on a challenge card and move it to another card. So if a card is played, it can be moved to a more optimal position. No, I don't think we have. I think we maybe mentioned briefly trading cards at some point. Like if there was still a visit HQ action, maybe trading could happen, but then there's no reason to do that because you could just pass and let the other person play the card anyway. But moving a card around the table, I don't remember that idea. Legends, heck yeah. So if they have multiple dead turns, it at least gives them something to consider, even if they end up not doing it. Yeah. Okay. So first. So let me think about this practically, and then Legends, I'll come back to your thought. So if somebody can move a card, then they're gonna like, first of all, that may encourage people to keep the cards sort of nicely organized, which I do like to teach. Like I like to stack them a certain way. But that means you're gonna like drop your hand, you're gonna dig into a pile, and then move that card somewhere else. So I don't know that's not. I may be overthinking the logistics here, but I think kind of rummaging through a little stack of cards might not be awesome as a little responsibility. But the other thing is, yeah, I think this is a really detailed way of thinking about how the icon, like whether the icons are being used most efficiently. I think that would take a really like mature understanding of the situation, a really quick analysis, and then like that'd be kind of like doing research, which actually might be interesting. But yeah, I'd like to still find something else because redistributing, because for some games, especially less mature players, they would just take, they might just take a card from one place and move it, but then of course you leave something undone in the place you just moved the card from, and it might even be like the same. You just have the same problem, but just in another pile. Like if you took the icon from one place and moved it to the other place, then that the initial place still needs that icon. What I think what that might help relieve is that if it lets you complete a card, then at least that card is gone, may reveal a new one. And in that way you've made progress, so you just kick the problem down the road a little further. And maybe that's cool, but that feels very advanced relative to what I think a lot of the, like, I mean, I think this is mostly going to be played by younger people. Okay, do event cards give a reward of some kind when they're dealt with? That's an idea that I don't, at this point, no, they don't give a reward. But it could be that interesting. Yeah, it could be that each event card lets you gives you one or two wild icons or something like that. Or it makes water icons wild. Or if you complete the water one, then water icons become wild. That idea is interesting. Do they have a benefit? They don't. But they could. I mean, I suppose all of the cards could technically have benefits. Yikes. Yikes. Wait a second. Now this feels like it could be a little too fundamental of a change right now. But if, let's say this is a challenge card, right? Let me just grab a little text. Yeah, right. That's the kind of thing. Yeah, Mike. So just make it a wild icon. So I guess I was thinking it could become. It could become whatever icons were on it. That might be a little too sophisticated. But yeah, it could just become any one icon or something. That could be interesting. I'm not sure how to indicate that. So, well, yeah, like if all of the challenge cards just became something. Maybe giving this ability to all challenge cards might be too much, but at least starting with the event cards. So if you would flip an event card and it could become something, or I don't have a symbol for wild yet. That also kind of brings back the issue of like, are we sure it works well to have wild stuff? Because then do you have to define it as a certain icon when you play it, or does it do the thing where you just reduces the cost of the challenge card it's on by one of anything, and then that kind of thinking also feels advanced. it doesn't mean it's a bad idea at all. Define it when you resolve the challenge card. Yeah, yeah, but still, I feel like it's still an advanced idea. I like it. I think it's cool, but it feels maybe just outside of the circle of what seems reasonable for this audience. Maybe I'm underestimating them, but if you could say it, so you kind of need somebody who's like looking closely at the card and who can do the thinking, right? Who can say, okay, we have these two symbols left. We have water and tents or shelter. We just need either one of those. And somebody can do that. Somebody can do that evaluation. But it feels advanced. But I still like the idea of some reward or some benefit. Another brainstorm. Instead of active player draws, let's see, instead of active player draws a card, maybe it's take a random card from another player. You may discuss which player but not which card. Then the player you take from draws. It's basically draw a card but with a little fun infused. Yeah, well, you know what? You could say, so I think if you took from a player's hand, here's one thing you could do. That would be, I think, fairly simple. You could say, I think you could say, draw a card from any player's deck. Now, I think that'd be the cleanest possible. That could possibly be the cleanest way of making progress towards solving this problem. In that, if you know that the first responder's good with water and food, and you guys know you need food, then it would take being familiar with their decks, but at least you could try to draw a card from the deck that's most likely to have the thing your group needs. So that's one option here that I think would be very clean, and just say draw a card, but instead of draw a card, it would draw a card from any deck. If it was draw a card from another player, then I feel like it might as well just be have another player give you a card, because I think it'd be kind of tricky to try to limit people's communication around that, and then I think you'd get the rule sticklers and you'd get the people who kind of want to be loose with it, and I think it could create some sort of odd moments. But if you draw a card at random, yeah. Okay, let me look at Legend's thought here. You were talking about a stack of HQ, right? Could you have a card that you moved around the HQ stack pointing at the challenge? Could you have a card that you moved around the HQ stack pointing at the challenge? So, do you mean another layer? So you have the HQ card in the middle, and then you have the cardinal directions around it. Are you saying something in between the cardinal directions and the HQ card, or I'm not picturing what you're saying? Okay, so we have Mike. Right. So a little go fish sounds fine. I think in this setting, with the time pressure and everything, I think it'll just end up working like the person's just going to be hinting the whole time at the right card to take, and there might be a way to try to reinforce it with a rule, you know, and even describe it a few different ways. But I just feel like that will become like, I've got my hand of cards, you know, oh, make sure you pick the right one. Like it'll become something kind of goofy like that. And because I don't mind this idea of like getting resources from other players. I think that's cool. Okay, let me see this. Let me see if I can represent what you're talking about. I thought I had a layout somewhere. Oh, this one, I think. Okay, so looking at this, well, so we have all the cards being the same size. Let's say these would be spread out a little bit. Okay, so I think if this was just what? Like if these were, so this is just still the stack of HQ cards or like event cards. Let me see. If the group is stuck, getting a card from another player doesn't seem to fix the active player, but the player getting a card taken will benefit more if they're drawing a new card. Yeah, so I think this yeah, I think getting card draw is always helpful. It should be. Or it should at least feel like, oh, maybe here's a chance of getting the right card. So I think one, like a possible situation is where, well, I think the two options, so you can have the HQ as a card and the arrow as a card. Right. I see what you mean. So if, right. So this would be swinging around apart from HQ. Now what would be HQ? This would be where the event cards sit, potentially. I like this as an idea. Like separating these two. Of course, it takes a little more space, right? And then it would be a little harder to reach across the table. I don't know if that's a huge deal. So the benefit there is that this stack would just always be relevant. It would just always be it would just be sitting and it wouldn't feel, yeah, since you're not rotating this, it might not be that awkward to have a stack of cards here in the middle. I think there is something to that. It would be worth kind of feeling out how much space you need around these cards. And then what would the advantage... The advantage would be there's always something to work on in the middle. You know what though? Okay, so let's keep this idea in suspension for just a second because I kind of want to go back to the go fish idea, because it could be, let's see, where's the player aid? It could be, because let's say just for a second, let's say we don't need to go fish, but a player could just give me a card. Well, then it's kind of on that player to decide whether or not they want to give. They might just say, no, I want to hang on to this because I'm going to be able to play both of these next time. Because think about it, if you give me this icon, it could be fun to have the middle card be unlocked, so everyone you do gets you something permanently. Yeah, I think there is something to this stack of cards in the middle. There's a weird question about, like, when you resolve them, it feels like they should just be gone, you know? And the reason for that is because I'm still very much tied to how clean this is. So, right, there's just this mess of cards off to the side. And maybe I'm over emphasizing that thinking. Yeah, because there are just gonna be piles of cards, right, around. And wait, I wanted to write this down real quick. Where is it? Okay, ideas. Pile of HQ cards. Arrow moving. Arrow is a focus arrow. Is moving around the pile. This also makes a little more sense with this arrow moving around, because the building is just going to be sitting there. The building itself is not going to be spinning, which is kind of a funny thought anyway. But yeah, if the focus is just represented, I think it's slightly more awkward to like rotate it around a thing rather than being the thing in the middle that rotates. But I don't think that's like a huge problem. It could also just be move this thing over next to the thing, and it doesn't even have to be an arrow or whatever. So I might be overthinking that a little bit. And so that the cards in the middle are just something that that you'll kind of go through. I like the idea of unlocking. I don't know where cards that are unlocked would go, because no matter what, yes, you're going to want to resolve them. So resolve them. It'd be nice if they had a benefit. I really like the idea that they could have a benefit. They might be you know, what if they were just combinations of icons so that they were essentially wild but not exactly wild? Does that make sense? So if they were just like 4 icon cards, that could actually be, that could be helpful. Right? Because then they would operate like wilds, just because they'd have more coverage than a typical card would. Or maybe a player could add that card to their hand. Right? The active player that resolves it adds that card to their hand. So they wouldn't need to be sitting anywhere specific. Hmm. Yeah, because a lot of the time it does come down to just literally a single icon is the problem. And if you had cards in the middle that give you 4 different icons, each card gives you 4 different icons, then your chances are pretty good, higher than 50%, that that card is going to have the icon on it that you need. It's not going to be guaranteed, but it would reduce the likelihood that you would get locked up as a group. Okay, let me write this down. Event cards are in the middle when resolved. I'm just gonna go for this. I'm gonna write it down as if, well, I'll just go for it. I'll see if I can capture a variety of these ideas, but I think we may be onto something here. Okay, excuse me. Pile of HQ cards in the center, I should say. Wow, this is really this is good stuff. Thank you guys. I am going to transition away. I hope to rest just a little bit before I have these meetings at 8. But I feel like we are either on the path to breakthrough, on the brink to breakthrough, something like that. I still like the idea of go fish mechanic, or draw from any pile mechanic, draw from any pile. So this is options for dealing with, I haven't been able to do anything for 3 turns, right? That's essentially the problem. That should not happen in this game, and if there's any way to avoid it, I'd like to figure it out. So go fish mechanic gives you a chance of drawing a card. It could just be players can trade. Players can give a card to the active player. Okay, that kind of thing. But event cards in the middle. When resolved, the active player takes the card in hand. The card has 4 or 5 icons on it. Okay, I think this is, yeah, I think there's something to this. You know what this also does is it also places the cards, potentially places the cards back into the piles of challenge cards, because there's no need for these to be separate necessarily from the challenge cards. There wasn't a great need for them to be in a pile of HQ cards. They could still be event cards, but once the event is resolved, the active player can take that card into their hand. That could be cool. Or that card is, I think I prefer that in that it becomes a choice of when to spend it, but it could also be that card just gets applied to some other card. I kind of don't love the heavy-handedness there, like forcing the players to use it right away. But there's something here to there being a benefit on the event cards, so thank you for that, Legends. And then Mike, there is something to the trading, the go fish, the drawing from another player's pile. There's something to like moving resources around the table. So I feel like both of those ideas, there's strength to them, and it's just figuring out how to apply them in a way that's very easy to understand and teach. I do think I think having a benefit on these event cards is very easily done. The trading, the go fish thing, it'll take a little more massaging, but I think there's something to that too. Okay, very cool. Thanks so much for joining, guys. Hope you have a great day, and I will, yeah, I'll see you soon. Thanks for your help.